Welcome to the Shyamcast. This is Brett.
This is Shyam.
Thanks so much for being here with us. Well, Shyam, back together again after a long absence.
I don't know when was the last time we met? Maybe March, April?
I think it was April. I think it was about 3 months ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It
It's been a while.
seems forever, but I'm happy we are back. Huh.
Me too. Me too. Do you remember where we are in Bhagavad Gita?
Oh, that's you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're in chapter 6.
I
So
was thinking like
we're, we're about halfway through chapter 6 right now. Yeah.
so what do you have for today?
Hmm. Well, I see you have you're not a new room, a new coat of paint
Yeah, a new
sitting in
paint.
your room, new white paint.
Yeah.
Somehow it looks bigger.
Yeah, that's the nature of white. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe your ceiling is tall and I've never seen you quite at that angle before.
Yeah. Yeah. Ceiling is tunnels.
But yeah, a lot of things happening at the temple right now.
Lot of renovations. I think yeah, it'll slow down now. Um, because we have spent a lot of time on renovations. Now rest time.
I hope so, Froji. Yeah. I hope you can get some rest. All right. Well, let's get into some Bhagavad Gita. So we read the big verse, 20 to 23 last time, which
Mm,
describes samadhi or trance
mm,
and being situated in the self.
mm,
And I guess this chapter 6 is really a lot of it is about that subject. It's about
mm,
meditation, being situated firmly in the self, being focused, one-pointed. We also read like one of our recent episodes, we talked about a verse that discussed doing things in moderation. So
mm,
sleeping, eating, sort of regular habits of life, making sure that we do them not too much, not too little.
mm,
And so the verse for today is going to talk about the mind. I guess this chapter talks a lot about uh,
mm,
the mind being the friend or the enemy, and trying to keep the mind under control or get it under control and keep it focused. So we're going to read verse 26
mm,
in chapter 6.
mm,
So Krishna says, from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
mm,
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
mm, mm, mm,
There's a verse a little while before this, Prabhuji, that we didn't cover in this podcast, but with 6:19,
mm,
it talks about um, basically the opposite of this, about how one who is focused, it's like their mind is like a steady flame in a windless place. So it's like
mm,
a candle flame that's just burning very steadily with no
mm,
wind. It's not being moved around or flickering or almost getting put out.
mm,
And this verse is describing the more normal state, I guess, a lot of our minds are in, where it's flickering
mm,
and it's sort of moving here and there. And it seems very, very well describes the feeling of sort of going in and out of focus,
mm,
or finding it difficult to focus. It's like the
mm,
candle flame of the mind is sort of waving back and forth, in the wind, or it's flickering, it's unsteady. So sometimes we feel very focused some moments, and then kind of suddenly we feel very unfocused, and it kind of goes in and out like that. So Krishna says that is the nature of the mind, is flickering.
Yeah, very relevant verse for all living entities.
Oh.
So the previous verse speaks about the goal, where the mind is fixed. And as you rightly said, Prabhu, the current verse is speaking about the stage of practice. One thought which was coming in my mind, two words were coming in my mind. One is illusion and one is training. So when Krishna says, bring it back. So Krishna is emphasizing on the role of training the mind, that the mind can be trained. It's all about where we let the mind loose. So it's meant to be trained. Then another word, we will expand on this. Another word was illusion. How everything in this word is a product of illusory energy. Everything the mind focuses on, other than like the principles of spirituality, everything that mind focuses on is actually product of illusory energy. Why illusory energy? Because it's not eternal. Any situation, anything we're looking for in this world is not eternal. And that's why anything which is not eternal is a product of illusory energy. And that's why Krishna is speaking from the perspective of um, pure knowledge. What is it is really truth? What is absolute truth? And Krishna wants us to bring it back from product of illusion to reality. And focus and focus. But the nature of the mind is go back to where it is attached to. And the more it wanders, the more it becomes attached to that. There is that verse in second chapter. No? What we contemplate on, attachment develops. And then when we don't get what we are attached to, anger develops. So these are some initial thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, Prabhuji. So you mentioned first that the previous verse talks about the goal, which I believe is being focused on the self. Is that right? Should be focused on the self alone and think of nothing else. That's what Krishna says. And so then this verse, number 26, which we're discussing, is talking about the means, as you said, right? So I'm just curious, I guess, connecting that to what you're talking about with the illusory energy, the illusoriness of our lives. It's a difficult spiritual concept that one hears a lot if you start reading and studying, and you start hearing about things are illusion. And I think there's a little bit of a clue in that previous verse and in this one, where we're told that this goal is to focus on the self alone. That's the thing you should focus on. And sort of, I guess, inherent in that is we're being told that the self is the only thing that is real. This the reality of who we are, who Krishna is. That's the only thing that is real. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about illusory energy, illusoriness. I'm thinking like everything I see when I look around, is that a part of the illusion? The things that I experience with my senses, the things that I can taste, smell, touch, see, and hear, are those, how can I understand that as an illusion, or is that an illusion, or part of the illusory energy, as you say?
So it's not illusion, but it's part of illusory energy. The illusory energy of the Lord, from there comes earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. Everything comes from that energy. It's like Maya Shakti. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, the body is also made up of Maya. So everything is coming from that energy of the Lord. Why it's called why is called illusory energy? Because it's not real. What is real? Real is which is not destroyed with time.
Mm.
What is not real? Which with time gone,
Mm.
never to come back again. Um, just like you have seen those magical shows, magical movies, where they show something in the sky, and then we say, "Wow, this is so nice," and then it disappears. And then we are like, oh, that was only an illusion. You have seen such magical shows. Something comes and then disappears in a way. So it stays for a little longer time. And
Mm.
another aspect of illusory energy is the sense of happiness that can be derived in this world. That hope is also illusory.
The hope that we can get happiness from this world.
Krishna calls it mode of passion. Krishna says ends in misery.
Mm. So it's anything that is not eternal.
Is a product of illusory energy. And that's why Krishna is telling, if the mind is going that way, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. But how difficult it is, why it's so difficult for us? Because we are not yet self-realized, especially me. We're not, we're not yet self-realized. So that's why we are influenced by the modes. And when we are influenced by the modes, we'll be attracted to things based on the mode which is influencing us. Whether it be nature, whether it be some source of pleasure, whether it is some fame, whatever. Based on the mode which is influencing us, we are attracted to things. Krishna wants us to come out of the modes. The more we interact with the modes, the more we will be entangled. The example given is um, a fly trying to escape the net of a spider, the spider web. What happens when the fly tries to escape the spider web?
It's stuck.
It gets further entangled. It just touches, then it wants to come out of it. So it moves, and the more it moves, the more it is sprinkled around by the web. So the more we interact, the more we become entangled. And then we want to experience happiness, which is actually the science of soul, the nature of the soul, which is in true state. But we want to experience happiness through the web of this world, the web of the three modes. And the more we try to find real happiness there, we just become more and more entangled. So Krishna says, come out of that and focus on the self. The self is that we are spirit souls, and the self of self is Krishna. So
Mm.
self includes the soul and the super soul. They are the real self because self contains the super soul. So bring it and focus on the self. Bring it back to reality. But so hard. And that's why Srila Prabhupada says daily reading helps. Reading spiritual books helps us to go there, like to the real self. But the mind is entangled. If we navigate the world through the mind and intelligence, we will become more and more entangled because it's not free itself. So the thoughts coming out of that will not be free also. But we need a higher source of knowledge to bring it back, bring it back, bring it.
Mm. So is that why Krishna says at the end of this verse, one should bring the mind back under the control of the self?
Hmm.
The self is the one who really we want to control the mind,
Hmm.
whereas I guess opposed to in a lot of in our current state, it's the ego. We think we're the one who's under control, or we have the control of our mind, and a little investigation into the nature of our minds and our attention sort of
Hmm.
proves to us that this is not the case. We're actually not in control of the mind, of
Hmm.
our thoughts, like we think we are. And so I guess, yeah, I guess that's just what I'm noticing there, Prabhuji, is Krishna is saying, you know, you're I guess in a way like this ego is not supposed to be in charge of the mind. The self, the super soul, is supposed to be in charge of the mind.
Mm.
You're supposed to give up control of the mind in a way, it seems like, is what it's saying to me.
One place Krishna says higher than mind is intelligence. Higher than intelligence is ego. But this intelligence which is under ego is actually material intelligence. Then Krishna says mind can be controlled by superior dictation. So the intelligence directly, when we read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, we associate with um, great personalities like Srila Prabhupada. The intelligence becomes sharp. That intelligence can control the mind. So Krishna wants us to bring the mind under the control by the help of a spiritual intelligence. Material intelligence is controlled by the mind. Mind says what I want, and intelligence says, okay, let me make arrangements, do this, and you will get what you want. Or maybe try this, but it's not coming. Try this. See, when we are running behind things in this world, so much anxiety, actually. Constant anxiety. We experience anxiety, but we don't want to give up still because we feel like that's the only source of joy in my life. That's what will make me happy. So we are willing to take all the anxieties also. Little bit comfort is there, but so much anxiety.
Yeah, we're
And
entangled in anxieties.
and we feel no, there is something, and what do? It's so hard, and that's why here we are coming back to the original point. The mind can be trained. If a child, you let the child free, the child will play video games 24 hours. Or will watch TV or go out and play games with the friends. The child will spoil its life actually, his or her life. So parents have some control over the children. That's very necessary. 1 hour allowed on TV, half an hour on video game, no more than that. And then you can go out for 1 hour and then you have to study. So you see, Prabhupada says, mm, after he says, like after from 5 years till 12 years or 13 years, Prabhupada says the children should be trained. Otherwise, they will become spoiled. So, likewise, when we give the mind what it wants and keep giving what it wants, then the mind becomes spoiled. And that is the current state of many living entities. And that's what Krishna is telling now. This is the knowledge. Bring it back, bring it back. And that is hard part because we have gone too much that way for so many lifetimes. And now we are bringing it back to Krishna and where we don't have really any connection at this point of time. And we're trying to bring it back. And that's what the word sadhana bhakti is, regulated devotion. This is the right thing to do, so keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Because if we don't try, it's like letting the mind loose and it's just gonna take a tangent, go away. And then it becomes the cause of next birth. Krishna says, whatever we remember at the time of death, there you go. And now we are so attached to something, and then there we go. And then we are like, oh no, again problems are there.
One thing I'm thinking about, Proji, is that it feels painful to withdraw from the things that we're entangled in.
The child also feels painful when the mother asks him or her to stop playing video game.
Hmm.
Stop going to the bars. Stop going this. Stop doing this. Stop using whatever. No, you cannot associate with that because the child had developed some interest. So we had developed some interest. Now we have fear of losing. No, I cannot live without it. Fear of losing. So I'll keep investing in that, investing in that. Simply takes me away from Krishna. Anything I invest in this world, I invest my time, invest my energy in this world, will take me away from Krishna. Will make me forget Krishna. Nature of this world is it's meant to make us forget Krishna. I cannot remember Krishna peacefully. While remember Krishna, while reading, while hearing, at all time, my mind will be engaged in object of this world. I'm not.
Proji, sorry, just a question, Proji. Is the pain that we experience, because I guess it feels to me like the the real pain that we experience is just in the separation from what we want.
Mm.
You know, it's sort of it's all just a thought anyway. So if our parent says you can't go out tonight,
Mm.
the only reason we feel any pain is because we're separated from what our desire is. We want this thing, but we can't have it. And the longer we linger on the fact that we can't have this thing, the more, that pain is gonna just continue. But if we can withdraw from it or let go of it, there's no more pain that pain is no longer there.
Mm.
Um, I guess my question that I'm getting to is even that pain, is that a part of the illusory energy as well?
Yes. Because we don't want to let it go now. So that pain, as you yourself answered, Prabhu, the pain is not there. You let it go, and now you are okay. We were okay when we did had it. Correct? At some
Yeah.
point in time, but we are long ago, we did had. We are okay. Life was set still. And now suddenly this longing develops. It is also said the amount of pleasure we experience when we comes in contact with an object. Pain will be experienced when we go away from the object. So that's how the material world is like pain and pleasure concomitant. Pleasure is coming, somewhere else pleasure is coming, previous pain is coming. So it's like switches, it goes on and on.
Mm. Yeah, they cause each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Krishna also says, no, the object of the source of misery is pleasure.
Mm.
Krishna says, ehi samsparsha cha bhoga dukkha yorana evate. When samsparsha cha bhoga, with the desire to enjoy, when we approach a object, bhoga is enjoyment. When we comes in contact with the object with a desire to enjoy, dukkha yorana evate, that becomes a cause of misery. But see what Krishna says now, it doesn't sink in actually. And that's why repeated reading of these texts really helps.
Yeah, there's such a central message that's all throughout Bhagavad Gita. This verse is referring to this self, which was the first lesson in chapter 2 that Krishna gives to Arjuna. You are this self. Um, and yeah, it takes it's like every time I'm looking at this text, it's almost like it's a new thing. I feel like, oh, why didn't I realize this before? Why didn't I see this before? You know, and yeah, I guess that's really like the nature of a transcendental book, right, Prabhuji? Um, it's just every time you read it, every time you look at it, there's something new, and that is really, I mean, that's the nature of the self that Krishna is talking about. Yes, it's eternal, and I think at least for me, it's a very helpful reminder, sort of keep reminding myself the pleasures of this world, this entanglement, that you're talking about, that first of all, that they do cause pain, that there is this, once you experience this pleasure, you have to experience the pain on the opposite end of that spectrum. But that furthermore, there is a much greater pleasure and happiness, and that is, in the self, that is, in finding Krishna. And so I think it's a necessary reminder for me anyway, that there is a greater thing. It's not that the soul is not supposed to feel good, I suppose. It's not supposed to be happy. The nature of the soul is to want to be happy. It's just that we're looking for it in this sort of this wrong place. We're looking for like a little bit of happiness. We think we experience this much and we think it's this much, when really we're looking for something that is eternal. We're looking for the unending sort of infinite variety, always existing, always changing, always sort of increasing. That's what we're looking for. And there's just so much frustration when we look for it all over the place in this world. This person, this object, this TV show, this substance, this, whatever it is. And it's never quite there. It's always like it promises. Everything sort of promises to be that fulfillment. This next thing is going to be that fulfillment that I have been looking for all this time. And none of those things ever actually end up fulfilling. They always sort of just cause a further desire, which in turn leads to greater pain the more we indulge in it. So the reminder that, this self that we keep coming back to, this reality that Krishna says, this is who you really are. This is who, you're trying to get back to me, he says, right? Like the devotee is trying to get back to Krishna. Because that's our source. That's, we're this part of this, of the spirit. Yeah, it's a very helpful reminder. It's like there's a greater pleasure here. We're all sort of seeking our own happiness, but I think one of the things Srila Prabhupada he talks about intelligence a lot, and that, essentially if we are really intelligent and we really want our own happiness and the happiness of others, we'll do spiritual practice. We'll withdraw from all those worldly things if we're really intelligent, because, we realize that there's something much better out there.
We were discussing recently, that's where discrimination comes into picture. The discrimination of what's favorable for me, what's not favorable for me. Many times we understand, but we are not able to take any action on those things. And that doesn't help us to come out of it.
So what are some actions that we can do?
There is one statement my seniors would say, out of sight, out of mind. Insight in mind. The thing is, mind very attached. Again and again, mind interacts with this word. Especially, what we should identify is what is one obstacle in my Krishna consciousness, which is absorbing me so much that I'm not able to focus on Krishna. Then how can I overcome this one obstacle at a time? Focus energy on one obstacle. I need to work on this. What are the obstacles? What are the obstacles that I'm not able to remove this obstacle? What am I doing which is bringing me closer to this obstacle. What I can do to distance myself and become free from this. One of the quality of a spiritualist is he has great discrimination power. What is right, what is wrong. One who doesn't have discrimination just keeps going with the flow. Keep going with the flow. And the life continues one after another. One birth, another birth. Continue. Go with the flow. One is discrimination. No, this is not good for our our knowledge needs to turn into action. If they don't turn into action, then it's like nice time together. It was nice, it was nice. If it doesn't turn into action, it's hard. Sometimes we have fear of consequences. What will happen? Many fear comes, and these are all presented by the mind. And then we end up in going with the flow again. So that requires some strict steps. That okay, some strict steps. Okay, this is not good for me. This is what is good for me. I need to focus on what is good for me. Especially my seniors would say, whatever is absorbing the mind. See, there are 5,000 things we are interacting with. One thing will absorb the mind, like a lot. Others may be similar but not absorbing so much. So, though interacting with those is not a concern. But what is capturing the mind, the thoughts, that is what is requires some attention at this point of time. And to be able to see it, to be able to see it is discrimination. To act on it is determination.
That's really the work of a spiritualist, right? And Krishna says that yoga is the art of all work.
We don't have to go to the forest, but we want to keep the mind not become attached to something so much that it becomes entangled to an extent that it brings forgetfulness of Krishna or hampers our Krishna consciousness. Wherever that state comes, that thing needs to be worked on. And we can interact with the whole world. Usually, the word is not a problem, it's the one or two things which are the problems. Those are the things to be worked on. Some people take it to extreme, so I should not live. Now, no, that's not what we say. That's what somebody may be thinking out of, fear of losing or to justify, but that's not what we are saying. If the mind has limited space, if it is fully absorbed in something, how will it think of Krishna? And if whatever we are attached with in this world, if that kind of attachment, that kind of remembrance we have for Krishna, life is set. Well,
Yeah.
that takes a lot of effort to switch.
That's really what Bhagavad Gita is saying. Like everything is set if you can do this. Everything is good if you can do this.
And I think that's where the word sincerity comes into picture. Yeah, how sincere I am. What does sincere means? Sincere means many people know things. Sincere means can be put into practice. How sincere we are to put our knowledge into practice. How much we are eager to apply, how much we are striving to apply. Sincere we are. Then there is also Vishwa Chakravarti Thakur, one of the great teacher. He says there is weakness of the heart. He says it's a stumbling block, weakness of the heart. And to overcome that, mercy is required. There are many stories in Bhagavatam who had some weakness of the heart for years and years and years and years. And suddenly there is a awakening and they're like, enough of it. Bharat Maharaj, enough of it. But in his next life though, King Yayati, very attached, enough of it. There was a prostitute Pingla. In 11th canto it comes. And she was looking for this person will satisfy me, and give me the wealth and pay my fees, and so much hankering, so much hankering, so much, enough of it. Now I don't want to do anything with this world. I want to have my relationship with Krishna. Enough of this. So that time sometime comes. And that is actually the time of awakening or the mercy of the Lord. Then that means the weakness of the heart is overcome. Tough,
Yeah.
tough. Very easy to speak, very easy to discuss. It's really hard to practice. So what makes spiritual life difficult is not spiritual life is difficult. It's like our own conditioning, we call it. That's why the problem is our conditioned souls. Your conditioned souls. Our own conditioning makes it difficult to come out of conditioning despite I knowing God is the way.
Mm.
Very hard to break the habits.
Mm. That's why it seems like that's why you're saying is that action is so important. That reason we can understand as much as we want, we can understand many things, but without actually doing something, nothing happens. We're not helped, right? And it also sounds like, Prabhuji, you're talking about narrowing the goal or focusing the goal. Like Krishna is talking about this one goal of realizing the self. And we have many goals in our lives, mostly. Many things that we're sort of maybe simultaneously working for. And so it sounds like, you're talking about a simplification of things. Spiritual life is, the word simple is used a lot. Simple living and high thinking, for example. And that's one way that it's, working towards a spiritual goal, trying to align our actions with our principles, actually makes things a lot simpler in life, less complicated, which is something that most of us are going for.
Another thing that helps is positive engagement. Because empty mind will always go towards our attachments constantly. But positive engagement makes us forget what we are attached to temporarily. And that helps, see, more separation, we start forgetting. Initially, if you're very attached, little separation, there's a lot of hankering. Let the separation continue, we'll start forgetting. Spiritual life is opposite of that. Little separation, we hanker more and more and more, more and more and more, more and. But material life, you separate, you forget. That's where this principle of out of sight, out of mind. So many attachments we had in the past. That time, if we don't get it, if I don't get this paper published, if I don't get this, then we are like so much hankering, and then out of our thought process, and now we don't care. But we care for something else now. That's why we need to separate the mind, make some conscious effort to separate the mind till the mind is no more attached to it. Then you can again let the mind exposed to it and see, is it still too high? If it again becomes intense, then remain, maintain the separation.
I'm reminded of the time I spent away, and
Yeah, I know.
your your discussion, uh, the spiritual truth is the opposite of the material truth, I guess, in many ways, right? They're the sort of inverse of each other. And as I was gone, and I found it was difficult to talk about spirituality. It was difficult to sort of, find a common ground with many people. And so I found myself hankering a little more about, I want to I miss devotees. I miss doing kirtan. Um, I started just singing certain songs to myself more, as time would go on. And yeah, I guess there was a little bit of that. I just, I started to miss these things more um as time went on. It's not like where if it was something else, if it was, I guess, really anything else, if it was I don't know, a book or a song or something, and I was away from it, I might miss it, but it's like that it would sort of, the impression would decrease over time, samskar is the word in Sanskrit that would it would the more I removed myself from it, the more it would just sort of, that desire would go away. Um, but I just sort of found myself like, I want to do kirtan. I want to do it more now. I want to, it's like because I know, at least from just the very little that I have experienced, and that I know, like, well, this is a good thing. This is like one of the things I really want to be doing, and so not being able to do it and not being able to discuss certain things, it was like more of a desire. Um, I suppose I would also just share Proji, this experience that I've had, and I guess just others, just I'm just a person who lives in the world, and I have a job, and um I think I see more as time goes on. I witness that many people believe that this entanglement we're talking about is really the only thing. It's like the only thing that exists. It's the only way we can be, the only life that we can live. And if you start discussing spirituality, spiritual topics, talking about the self, talking about Krishna, um, people will very oftentimes just, it's they reject that idea. Um, and it's sort of like there's a bit of like a witnessing of like there's this entanglement, you know. It's like people really believing that the only thing they can do is live this life of sort of being woven in the web of material world. And yeah, I know I'm sort of just rambling on maybe at this point, but there's the the ideal of compassion is, I think, is very important to me. Um, and I think it's one of the things that for me helps to strengthen my spiritual resolve, to help make me continue to try to just keep acting, to keep doing things. Very appreciative to you for mentioning that, Proji. As one who likes knowledge but doesn't like to act as much as I like to learn, what's important to hear. It's you have to keep, you have to act on those things. You have to keep moving forward. And one of the things that helps me to act is just seeing that in other people, wanting to help them, like wanting them to be happier, like wanting them to see that there's a better reality ahead, like you just have to keep you have to keep looking for it, and it's there, you should have that faith that it's there.
It reminds me of some people learn by hearing, some people learn by seeing others, some people learn by experiencing, some don't learn. After repeated experience. Yeah. So what you are saying, what helps me act is by seeing.
Mm.
That's good. And then we don't have to wet our hands.
Mm. What's something that helps you to act, Prabhuji?
I would say inner consciousness. Also, when we discuss, we are speaking to ourselves. That's why something that really helps me is speaking about Krishna and speaking about the nature of this world. That's a reminder for myself. So somebody said, yeah, the best way is speak. Yeah, just what we want to practice, speak to others what we want to practice. And just that's a constant reminder to ourselves.
Mm.
And inner consciousness. And Krishna will, my spiritual master says, Krishna will speak through us to us what to do or not to do. And it only helps ourselves. Glorifying the Lord, glorifying Bhagavad Gita, discussing these subject matters is beneficial for everybody. For the inquirer, for the speaker, for the listener.
Mm.
Yesterday only I read this in Bhagavad. Parikshit Maharaj is asking questions to Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami says like amazing questions. And he says the speaker, the inquirer, and the listener all are benefited. The subject matter is transcendental. And if we speak about material topics, everybody goes into anxiety. What is happening with these tanks and these wars? And so many people are getting killed and drones are coming. Somebody was talking today morning. I'm like, in so much anxiety by listening these things. And discussing more spiritual subject matter like just relieves. Then Krishna is speaking from within. Guru and Krishna are helping us from within. But they want us to take actions.
Mm. Yeah. Such anxiety, Prabhuji, about the things that are happening in the world, and also the fact that people want to do things and feel like they can't do anything. There's so little you can do about things that are happening in governments and things that are happening on the other side of the world. And maybe it's easy to think, well, why would I do anything? Why would I do a spiritual thing? Why would I start a meditation practice or something like that? And I think it's just it's true that if we take action in a spiritual way, it somehow leads to the best results in the material world as well. We don't, originally seek out, I want to do something for my country. I want to, help people who are suffering somewhere on the other part of the world. If we focus on inner consciousness, or focus on realizing self, just try to do that, try our best to engage spiritually, that it's like, I don't know, the intelligence kicks in somehow or other. We just sort of, maybe the idea pops in your head about how you can help people do something. It's doing that one thing, having that one goal, that one spiritual goal. It makes everything else in life happen. It makes things happen faster. It makes things happen better. So it's like, even if our, if the intention, I don't know, it's like, if maybe I'm thinking of the way that Srila Prabhupada says, when you water the root, all of the parts of the tree are watered. The whole tree becomes healthy. The whole tree grows because you water the root. And so maybe that's sort of what I'm thinking of, Prabhuji. Like, if you water the spiritual root, you focus on that, all the other aspects of life come together, and you make the biggest impact anyway, when you focus on the spiritual thing.
Amazing, bro. Yeah. Everything converges. If you focus on that self, the internal peace, I loved it. Everything comes together. Okay. All that feeling we should discuss more, but next week.
Many more episodes to go.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. Thank you. See you later.